In today's video, we're going to get an introduction to For SEO. It's a new extension for Joomla for doing the search engine optimization, and we're going to get a tour of an introduction to it with Yannick Gaultier, who is the programmer of it. Yannick is owner of Weeblr.com, and he has another extension that I have used for many, many years, SH404SEF, so we're looking forward to this. Hey there, Joomla fans. Tim Davis here. I'm a Joomla fan too. Thanks for tuning in to watch me work live stream number 122 here on the Basic Joomla Tutorials channel, where I show you my favorite extensions, tips, and tools for building and managing Joomla sites. Today's video is brought to you by mysites.guru. Head on over to mysites.guru, get a free site audit for your Joomla site. And while you're there, check out all the tools and information that will save you time and money managing one or multiple Joomla sites. And if you decide to subscribe, use the coupon code BASICJoomla and you will get your first month free. All right, so everyone's saying hi in chat. If you want to give this video a like, that would be great. And we will jump right in. I'm going to change views here. There he is. Oh, in big. And here's teeny me on the side. We'll start out here. Hello, Yannick. Thanks.
Hello, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on today. Really excited about this. It was another recommendation from Mary Nevius to reach out to you. She's excited about For SEO. But before you show it to us, and there's Joomla Guru saying hello from Poland. Mary, Webby Design, Bjorn, Hobby Teresa's there. Good to see everyone. Yannick, why don't tell us a bit about yourself and then tell us about your Joomla story. So who are you?
Okay, so like you said, my name is Yannick. I'm from France. I live in just a few miles out of Bordeaux in France, you know, the wine country. I've been involved with Joomla for quite a while now. Before that, I worked for a long time as a mechanical engineer and a salesperson. But at some point, I switched and went to web development. It just happened, let's say. About 15 years ago, I started working like to scratch an itch, as I say, on SH404SEF. Because I just needed it, and then it all started from there. After a few years, like 2-3 years, it had grown to something really big. This was around 2009, the end of 2009, and at this point, I decided I would just quit my job and work on Joomla extensions, professionally, let's say, and that's what I did. Since then, the basis of our activity has been SH404SEF, but we've done also other extensions. The one we have now are SH404SEF, WMW, which is was the first accelerated mobile pages extension for Joomla, and then a few others which are free, and then the big one, the new one I want to talk to you today about is called For SEO, and it wants to be an all-in-one SEO extension for Joomla, and that's something I've been working on for about a year. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's brand new. It was released 2 weeks ago as a stable version. Not even that, actually. So that's my story. The point where this rejoined my story is that about a year ago, with maybe Joomla 4 still somewhere on the horizon, I decided I wanted to still commit and work with Joomla long term. So that's when I really decided to embark on that development, which was I knew it was going to be a very long development and very involved. And so I decided that it was worth it, and there's some future in Joomla, and that's why I spent the last year or so working on that brand new extension. Okay. That's my story so far.
So yeah. So were you around before? Did you use Mambo before Joomla?
Yeah, the first versions of SH404SEF were running on Mambo, actually.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yep. And then it was just before the switch, but it was not public at the time. And then it was around 2006 that summer of 2006 that I made it public. And then in early 2007, I started a website dedicated to the extensions. At the time, I had a bunch of extensions.
Okay.
So yeah, that was Mambo time.
I'm trying to think of, I don't know if, I'm sure it's at least 7 or 8 years, if not more, that I've used SH404 SEF on my biggest site. And so that's great. Well, listen, we can talk later about things as well. But go ahead and you go ahead, share your screen there and take it away. Anybody, if you've got questions, just put them in chat. I'll go through them later on after Yannick's presentation, and then we'll go from there and talk about those questions and maybe even see some more advanced things that Yannick might like to show us. So let me first of all, I've got to, oh, there we go. All right, go ahead. You want to switch to your screen?
Okay. Yeah, I'm switching. So before we start, our website is at Weeblr.com.
Now your little square with your face is on there. Can you move that off to the side?
It's not trivial, but I think I can. Hang on. No, I'm going to destroy things.
Okay, no, that's fine. Well, we will.
Yeah, it's supposed to be more or less a proper location for demonstration. So
okay, well,
it should be
good.
okay. I can actually entirely remove it. That's easier.
Oh, there you go.
But
yeah.
when working on the site it's supposed to be pretty okay.
Okay.
So I just wanted to mention that the site is Weeblr.com, and in there we've got a bunch of our different products. For SEO is at the top here, and you've got obviously some details and a quick introduction video. So if you want to get there, you've got a quick introduction video at the start, and you've got a getting starting guide here at the bottom. So if you want to get back to this later, you can watch this, and it's a bit more detailed. So before I get started, I'm going to start by installing it on a Joomla 3 site. The few things I want to say is that it's a commercial extension, so you need to get a subscription with us and download it from our website. It works both on Joomla 3 and Joomla 4, exactly the same. There's no difference. And that's pretty much it. Let's get started. So I'm here on a test Joomla 3 website, and it's just installed as usual. There you go. So the first time you install it, you're going to be faced with a small configuration wizard, initial configuration wizard, to get started. And there's only 2 questions. The first question is whether your site is public. And this matters because, as we'll see, for SEO is going to do things that and is going to talk to search engines, mostly submit your sitemap to them. So if your site is not public, you certainly don't want the sitemap to be built and submitted to search engines right away. You don't want search engines to go to and visit your site right now. So change this. Obviously, you can change that later, but select whether you want your site to be public or not. Then click Next. And the second and last question, so far at least, is the address of your website. Most of the time, for SEO will guess it right, but it's possible that sometimes the guess is not exactly what it should be. For instance, you might want to use the www prefix for your site, or maybe your site is not HTTP, or is HTTP, or should be HTTPS. So just make sure the address here is right, because there are many things that depends on it. So once you've done that, you're done. And yeah, I started. This is where you'll be ended up, the dashboard. So when you start like that, what you'll see right away is that for SEO is what's called a single page application. So you will never switch from one page to another. It's always going to be navigating instantly to one place or the other and open windows. So we did that because for several reasons, but the main one is that I think in 2021 you deserve, whether using Joomla 3 or Joomla 4, you deserve a really modern user interface, and the ease of use was very important for us from the get-go. Now, what is for SEO main purpose? Its main purpose is to perform automatically most of the technical SEO work that can be done automatically on a Joomla website. And for whatever cannot be automated, obviously, you can do that manually. But that's really its main purpose. And to achieve that, we designed it as exactly like a search engine. So for SEO is based on a crawler, something that will, in the background, crawl all the pages of your site to analyze them, and do a lot of stuff based on that. And we're going to see what it can do. But the start of it is that it needs to crawl your site, and by default, like what we're seeing right now, it's already started. If some people visit your site like this is the default Joomla website. In the background, for SEO has probably started crawling and analyzing the pages of the site. I hope it does. You can see that, for instance, it saw that someone went to the growers page, which is one of the pages I clicked, and it saw a lot of pages, a lot of links in that page, and they are now pending analysis. And as more people are going to visit your site, then for SEO is going to be able to, in the background, without slowing down the site, it's going to be able to analyze all pages. Of course, if there is no traffic on the site or you don't want to wait for that, you can run an analysis manually right here. And you can mix things up, start some manual analysis, and at the same time, on the front end, some people are going to visit and more analysis is going to be done.
That's a really cool feature that you can wait to see as people visit pages, because if you have a large site and you're just starting this out, you'll actually end up working on the most popular pages first.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. One of the reasons to do it that way. But the other, I just stopped here the manual analysis in the back end. Sorry. But the other important thing, and the reason we are doing it this way, is that it will keep doing so. Many times you just SEO, external SEO services like Moz.com or Ahref or SEMrush, they do one analysis and then you're done. But for SEO, it constantly analyze your site, meaning that if you change your robots.txt file, or you add a canonical to a page, or just you change a description or you change a title, it will detect that and then put that page back on the list of pages that needs to be analyzed. And it will always keep doing that. So when you add a page, you had a new page or you had some new content, you don't have anything to do. It's always happening in the background automatically. Now, this is how the data is collected, information about pages. Now, I'm going to switch to just another Joomla 3 website that where I completed the analysis prior, the first analysis at least. And because here I have, it's going to be easier. You can see here that the site analysis is complete, 100%. So the main dashboard here will show you the main parts of what for SEO does. I just want to mention that on most pages you've got an help screen here happening, and all settings most settings at least have an help page embedded in them, and you also have the getting started video embedded in the component, so you can refer to that at any time. So now you can see here most of the work that for SEO is doing automatically. This is reported here. Site analysis, it will show you a list of pages. Structured data, page by page. Working on sitemaps, and social networks. That works basically automatically, so there is no need for anything here. Then there are errors, and this is something that, this is a different category. These, the second part here, errors and SEO tools, are things you are going to use to fix things or to do things. These ones, pages and structured data and social networks and sitemaps, they all work automatically unless you disable them, of course. So now what do we have? We can see at the start that the structured data has a configuration error. So we're going to look into that. We can see that social networks are handled. Open Graph metadata are automatically added to pages, such as, and likewise for Twitter cards. They don't have anything to do with that, for that. And the sitemaps has been created and everything is working automatically. So let's go first to pages. What can you do with pages? Well, pages here shows you a list of, obviously, the pages on your site. You can do a lot of filtering. The most important thing, and that's probably not the most obvious one, is that for each pages here, you've got these selectors. And the most important one here is the canonical. And what crawling the entire site allows for SEO to do, just like Google, is to understand and decide which page is canonical and which page has the same content as another one, but is not the canonical one. So we might not get that right all the time, but you can manually fix that if you want. And let me see, I think I have components. Yeah, I can search for this one. This is an example of what I mean. As you know, this on the default Joomla sample contents, there's a multi-page article, I think. And so you can see here the 6 pages that make up that article. And there is a show all page where you can see the entire article together. And what for SEO has done, it has recognized this situation, and it has decided that all the individual pages are not canonical, and the show all page, the show all version that has all the content, is going to be the canonical. And as you know, as you might know, this is the recommended way to handle multiple articles.
And just to clarify, because canonical was something that took me a while to figure out. Search engines, and I can put my mouse on the screen here. Search engines see all these URLs as the same because they don't pay attention to the question mark start. And so a search engine would see, oh, here's 7 URLs that are all the same, and might see it as duplicate content. So you've got it set here to say, to tell the search engine, this, not the 7th one, that's actually, all these others should be just one URL, so don't count it as duplicate content.
Okay, so that's not exactly this.
Okay, good.
Well, it's actually rather the opposite. And maybe my example here was a bit too complex. So search engines see everything on the URL. So they see start equals whatever. They'll be very happy. They'd be very happy with index.php question mark option equals com content. They don't care about that.
Oh, okay.
But what happens is that it's the opposite. It's the problem we are trying to solve here is that we have one article, one piece of content, let's say, and there are several URLs going to the same content. And multi-page article is maybe not the easiest to grasp example of that, but it's similar to that. It's one piece of content, and there are multiple URLs that go to the same page, to the same content. And what they want, and what they do is, when that happens, they pick one URL, and they say this is the URL associated with this content. And what we want to do, because they don't want to waste time on all the other URLs, and they don't want to have to clusterize all the signals that go to the other pages. Like if you have a backlink to this one, they have to know it should count for this one actually, because this is the main one. So adding canonical tags inside pages is supposed to solve this problem. What that means is that on all these URLs, on all these pages here, for SEO is going to add an invisible link that says, okay, you found this page, but don't work with it. Don't think about it. The real page is here.
Okay.
The real content is here. Don't bother with these other ones. The real one is here, and just work with this one. And if somebody wants to know something about that's on this page, use this one. That's the one.
Okay.
It's really tedious to do, and it's really easy on Joomla sites, especially larger sites, to have many URLs going to actually showing the same page, the same content. I'm constantly tripping on that. You really need to think about content, a piece of content. So that's what we are trying, and that's the basis of everything, because on the next column here, you see that we have a sitemap. And based on the fact that we have decided that these URLs are not canonical, they are not going to go in the sitemap.
Okay.
And that's good, because a sitemap, and we're going to go to that later, a sitemap is not a place where you just want to list all the pages on your site.
Okay.
A sitemap is the place where you want to tell search engines, these are the 10 important pages on my site. Well, if you got only 10 pages, you don't really need a sitemap. But if you got 10,000, then you want to pick the 10,000s that matter. That's what sitemap is. And we do that based on whether a page is canonical or not.
Okay.
Okay, let's move forward.
Yeah.
The other thing we can do, and you can see that on the column here, is detect when pages have, let me clear that. When pages have the same title and or the same description. So if we take this example here, we can see that there are 2 pages with the same title than this page has, and there are 3 pages with the same title that this page has. So you can fix that. That's a good thing to do. Sometimes it doesn't matter because this particular article is an archived article, and maybe you're not going to bother with that. But on important articles, you're probably going to want to fix that and make sure each page has its own title and own description, possibly.
So there's a way to go and see those pages that have the 3.
Okay, so at this moment, no, because there are just so many things in here that is not done yet, but it will happen. But the point is, it doesn't really matter. Because the point is that what you want to do is fix this. So if I tell you, let's go back to maybe a more significant, I don't know, a Park blog. So the next thing is, but how you're going to ask me, I'm sure, is how do you do that? And you do that by just clicking on that one URL you want to change. And this switches to the edit page where you can edit the page title, description, manually add a canonical URL if you want to, and add things like robots.txt. That's for the metadata. And for the social networks, there's not much to do in terms of social networks. The only importance, let me go back, I'll get back to social networks then. So I just very quickly want to show you that how it works. So for any given URL, page that I clicked on, I have an actual preview of what the results on the search page is going to be on mobile and when searching on desktop. And then you got a page title, input field, and meta description. What you see here is that the page title we see here, Park blog, is coming from Joomla. This was the page title that Joomla, or you manually entered into the Joomla browser page title thing. So what you can do is enter a better title here, and it will update so you can see what it looks like, and it's taken into account already, so there's nothing more to do. And in terms of meta description, there's an auto mark here, meaning that there was no description on that page, and for SEO created one automatically from the content. And of course, you can write another description here.
Wow.
So many
That's
people
great.
consider page title and description the basis of SEO work. I would disagree with that, but it was important for us that it's really easy to do. So that's how you do it and how you override. And you can see that they are now marked both custom. It works the same for canonical URL, and if you want to no index or apply a robots tag, you do that here as well. The second bit of that is the social networks part. So when okay, SEO, it's not, you could argue it's not exactly SEO, but it's still SEO because that's how you probably want to, you're going to get some exposure to your content and to your pages. You want to share them on social networks. To share them on social networks properly and have people, look at them, there are two things you need to do. You need to add special tags inside your page, invisible tags inside your page called Open Graph metadata for most social networks, and Twitter cards tags for Twitter. And for SEO is doing that automatically, but that's usually fairly easy. The tricky part is having an image, is detecting an image automatically, or being able to specify an image if you want to have one. And but if you, in most cases, you absolutely want to have an image selected in your Open Graph tags, or else nobody is going to share your content. So we were already doing that with SH447, but we have vastly improved it here. And so here is the image that for SEO detected, selected for this particular article. You can obviously override it and pick another one as you like. I'm not going to do that, and that's it. So that's really the most, to me, that's pretty much the most important thing you can do for a given page in terms of metadata. While we are on it, what I want to show to you as well is this. So this is the front end of the site we've just been in, and if you travel to, let's try to go. This is Park blog. So let's go to this page.
The nice thing about being able to so easily pick a picture for social media there is what I've had to do if I have a video only in an article, like an embedded YouTube video, I still have to upload an image, and I usually just stick it at the end of the article so that it's automatically picked up. But now what I could do is just have the page and then just go and select it there, and I don't have to have that extra thing that's visible to everyone.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, based on some Facebook discussion recently, I looked into that, and it turns out that it is not impossible to, in that particular case, if you have a YouTube video, to actually fetch the thumbnail directly from YouTube.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen right away. I know how to do it, but it's not.
Okay,
it's not something.
Well, and the other thing is you're just at version 1. You just released this too, so that's lots of exciting things to come.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more actually beside the thumbnail. So anyway, the point is, what I wanted to do here is just log in, and when you are logged in with the proper authorization, you get this on the front end. So let's go back to let's go to Park blog again. And when you're logged in and you have this, you can move it around where you like, and it stays there. And when you click on it, then you got pretty much.
Oh my goodness!
You got pretty much what you have in the admin. The only difference is that on the social networks tab, we have more. Okay, that's a bad example because it has only one image, but we have more information because, for instance, here we can have images that are added through JavaScript, with JavaScript, for instance, that we wouldn't be able to pick up when crawling the pages. So otherwise, It's really the same thing.
So that's gonna, from the front end, present all the images on an article. You pick which one you want to be.
Yeah. So in the back end, I can do that already, but only for images that are like entered in your HTML content, the one you have entered in your editor, for instance. But if your images are added to your page, like you have a slideshow modules or something that only insert images with JavaScript, then I can't pick that up in the back end with the crawler. But on the front end, they'll be displayed here.
That is awesome.
You have one more options here, and you've got this, and there'll be more images if you have them.
And that's where someday the YouTube thumbnail will show up.
Okay, yeah. The YouTube, if I do it, the YouTube thumbnail. The point of this is you want to automate most of it, because it's okay if you have a few articles, but when you've got just even a few hundreds, this is really difficult to maintain. So I want to automate most of that. Okay. So if you have a YouTube video in the future, maybe next year, not 2021, but maybe next year, you won't have anything to do. You'll have here the thumbnail extracted from YouTube. You might come here and check it, but that's about it. You can see here this image has been extracted automatically.
Yeah.
There was nothing to do. You don't have to change it. So it works the same way. Like if you type something here, I don't know. You can see here that the title we entered in the backend was already there. But if you enter a really better title and you reload the page, then it's there. You don't have to save or do that sort of thing. It's all there. And a passing remark. I'm not sure.
That's amazing to have it in the front end like that. That's a mind blower.
Yeah, and it will expand. There's not much on the front end right now, but it will obviously expand as time go by. And this is the point here is that this is a different authorization level than accessing for SEO on the back end. So the idea here is that you can have some people with only the ability to handle description and title and metadata and selecting open graph image, and but you don't have to give them access to the admin. So that's the main reason to have that. And the thing I wanted to mention, it's another product that you might have seen already. It's called Seo Info, and it's a browser extension. And it will show you, for instance, much information about the page. But we have here the open graph metadata, and we can check that it's all good and fine, and even go and validate them with a Facebook debug.
That's not showing up on the screen share, I think.
Okay, that's possible.
So everybody, Yannick has this Chrome extension up here, and you can see it. You can get that off your site, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta let me go back to Weeblr here. You go here to the products, and you got the Seo Info. It's an extension for Chrome and Firefox. So you just go there. You have the links, and you just install it. Search for it.
I think I actually showed that in the Maintenance Monday video like more than a year ago. But so it's not showing up on the screen, but when you click on this extension, it would show information about this page. And when you saw Yannick's mouse moving around, he was actually seeing it on his screen. But
yeah, I think I might have wrongly configured the shared screen, because I should absolutely be able to see that. Okay, anyway, I need to work on my Zoom presentation skills.
No, that's fine.
So that's pretty much it we need to move forward, I think. So back to the admin. You close that, and you can do that obviously for any image you have here.
And there's no save button, so just everything's automatically updated as you leave a field.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, except for one thing that we'll see later, because it's there is more data entry, so you have a save button. But generally speaking, if you search for a component, you just search.
Okay.
You don't press enter or click a button. It just works. Okay, let's move forward maybe a bit. I just want to say a quick word about sitemaps. We're not going to use the same order. So sitemap is automatically created. And when it's ready, it will be submitted to, you got a button with the address of the sitemap, but you don't really have to care about that, because as soon as the sitemap is ready and we have crawled all the site and we know what to do, which pages to put in the sitemap and which to not put in there, we create the sitemap and we submit it to both Google and Bing. So the sitemap, yeah, it's ready now. So you can see this is an index sitemap. I don't want to go too much into the details, but you have multiple files in there. Yeah, I'm getting lost here. So I requested the sitemap. It has 124 URLs. It was created here, and I just submitted it right now to Google and to Bing. That's it.
Nice.
Usually Google comes around very early, but very quick. But I submitted the same sitemap several times already, so I'm not sure they're going to, come around right away. So basically, you don't have anything to do. As soon as sitemap is ready, it will be submitted. But the point, if you remember, I said we are using a crawler that constantly crawls and updates everything. If you change something, then the sitemap, if you add a page, if you had a category, whatever, the sitemap will be updated right away, and it will be resubmitted to the search engines. Again, you don't have anything to do. It will be happening constantly today or 6 months from now without having to do anything about it. That's something obviously you can disable in the settings. Disable NML, the entire sitemap handlings, addition to robots.txt, and you can disable pinging search engines. It's everything can be disabled, of course. You can use other extensions, for instance, things like that. Okay, I'm going to switch, unless you have any question, to switch to the other important, that's not a very good example I have here. Let's see. Yeah, we can do that on Joomla 4 as well. So structured data, also called, sometimes referred to as rich snippets. And structured data is something that's really, really important in 2021. So we've tried to work quite a bit on that. Structured data, a quick primer on that. It's a way to embed information inside of the page. Again, those are invisible tags that will describe the page, the content, to search engines and anyone who wants to use that. So it's really not meant for users, it's meant for search engines, and that helps them understand what's in the content. The idea being that if they understand really what your page is about, what it talks about, you'll be better off, and they'll be able to offer this page to visitors, to searchers more often, and also in a more appropriate way. So this is how it works. By default, I think, yeah, but you're not going to be able to see that. Yeah, there's Joomla stuff. So okay, so you're not going to be able to do that. You'll have to trust me. So by default, there are built-in rules that will create structured data for regular content, articles, which is usually what happens with default Joomla content. And then you can add rules for a category for all your site or only some pages. And I'm going to show you that very quickly. There's an H here. So this is one of the only places where you'll have to save and close things. So let's say we want to, obviously, assuming you have an e-commerce, a shop on your site, this is one of those places where structured data are very important, because a lot of things in search are based on structured data for products. for e-commerce. So many things for SEO are based on rules. You prepare a rule and you say, give it a name, and then you tell for SEO when you want it to do something, and then you tell it what to do. And many things, we'll see that later, are working this way. So when you prepare a rule, you can say this rule is going to work, needs to be applied on all pages, or it should be disabled for now, or it should work only on some pages, which is obviously the most important one, or the most interesting ones. This rule, I'm going to make it work only on any page that works, starts with shop. Typically, there will be your shop. And you can decide that you want it to run for some products, some components only, or only for some categories. So here you define when this rule is going to work. And then you define what to do. And you tell it, okay, on these pages, on any page that's in a shop, I want to add structured data, and it's going to be a product structured data. And there we have plugins and we have stuff like that where you can, all the fields that are required by your structured data can be either automatically calculated or you can enter a custom name. And that's it. And you do that, either use the automatic ones, or if you're not happy with that, select custom values, you save, and then it's going to be applied to the front-end pages. I don't have a shop, unfortunately, so I can't show you that, but this is going to how it's going to work. And you can define as many rules as you want for various parts of your site. And like I said again, yeah.
So there's a shop, there's snippets to go for a shop. There's what is an example, just a couple of other types of snippets just to help people click in on the use for this.
We support all the types that Google works with. There are like literally hundreds of things types for different things, but Google only supports a limited number of them.
Okay.
And here they are: article, a news article, a course like a tutorial or something that's happening either online or physically, an event, product, recipe, a video object. There are a bit more, but these are the ones that Google will support.
Okay.
And there are more because inside of an article structured data record, you can have an image record, for instance. But the top one, the top level ones, if you will, are these ones: articles, news articles, a course, an event, product, and recipe, and a video object.
And these help Google to display these help Google to display your content in other places.
I can't hear you.
Oh.
I think it's more Zoom than your microphone.
Oh, okay. Well, carry on then.
Okay, sorry about that. So that's how you define rules. You can have as many of them. You can have different types of rules for different types of your site. Even within your shop, you can have different types of products, different types of suppliers, for instance, many things like that. Now, this is pretty much everything that works so far automatically that we've seen. So there are now, for daily, what I call daily SEO work, there are a few things, a few tools that I believe are really important. First, for SEO can give you information about errors happening on your site. And yeah, I'm not going to have all of them. There are two types of errors, and we split them because before they were all grouped together, but they are actually very different. So links on sites are, because again, for SEO is a crawler, so it checked all of your content or your pages. It can find links inside your pages that are broken. And here we have a few examples. Maybe a bit too much, but yeah. Arrows, redirect. I don't have any redirect. Okay. Let me check on the turn on error. Yeah, I don't have. I wanted to show you what happens if we have a PHP error, but I don't have any here. So you have your typical errors here, but the point here is that these pages are valid pages, are links that we found on your site, and they go to an error, and that's really a problem. This is the sample data from a standard Joomla site. Let's take a look at this one. It gives a 503, or even this one. You can see here, I hope it's a link to a page on help.joomla.org, and it gives a 404. And the important thing that for SEO is going to tell you is, where is that link? You click here on the found pages, and it's going to tell you this link here triggers an error when it's visited. You should fix it. And here is the list of pages where we have seen this link. So what you need to do next is go to the home page, or maybe to this module here, to this page here, and find where we have this bad link and fix it. And you should fix it because it's on your own site. It's a mistake. Maybe you deleted that page or whatever. In that case, I guess they moved it or they changed the format. I don't know. That help page on extensions module manager custom does not exist anymore. So you want to fix it. And that's really important. Those are the pages. Those are the errors that you want to fix. Yeah, there's another one here. We have a link somewhere on to banan. Yeah, a banan page, the banan page on the Russian version of Wikipedia. And it's broken. It gives a 404 now. 5 years ago, when Joomla 3 was released, it was probably live. But no surprise, it's a link that we have on the Fruit Encyclopedia 5 Bananas page, and it's broken. You need to change it. They moved the page somehow, and without any redirect. So that I find really important. And then here, recorded errors are different. There are pages that gave an error, but they are not coming from you. They're not links on your site. They are somebody. You got a lot of robots, for instance. They are trying to load this page, which is obviously for WordPress. You got all that sort of thing. So you want to give an eye on that, and maybe redirect or fix some of them. But most of the time, these are not that important. The reason we have that is that sometimes PHP errors are going to happen, and I'm really unhappy that I don't have any to show you here.
That's funny because usually I'm pretty happy when I don't have PHP errors.
Yeah, but the thing is, in most cases, you're never going to be aware that you have a PHP error happening on your site until a visitor sends you a message saying, I tried to buy your $5,000 course, Joomla course, and there was a fatal error when I entered my credit card number. So what we are doing here is we also catch these errors, and we can show you a message saying which file and which line number the error originated from, and this is going to be showing here.
That would help. That would probably help people with getting the white screen of death on the front page, would it not? Then.
It won't prevent it, but if that's happening because of, let me see how it works. Yeah, I've got one here. Probably I created it on purpose. This is on my local test machine. So if there's a PHP error happening, you'll see something like that. You can select PHP versus 404 errors or versus something else, and you'll see the error message, and you'll see this. So the last time it happened was today at 3:21 p.m. And in that particular file, on line 358, there was this PHP error. So the point is not so much to, the point is to tell you that there was an error, a PHP error, something you'll never know. It just visitors will face it, but you won't most of the time, and where it happened. And then from there, you can take that information to a developer, and they'll fix it. So these are the errors that we can detect for you. And then there's the big mixed bag here with SEO Tools. And SEO Tools is where you'll do multiple things. Redirects pages, that's really common work. So it works the same with rules. Let's say we just recently changed our site structure, and instead of a news section, we now have a blog section. So we want to redirect any page that starts with news, we want to redirect it to a blog section. And we are going to add a rule that says on pages, any page that starts with news, redirect that to blog. And you see I'm using wildcard characters here. That means any type of URL. Again, I don't want to go into too many details, but I create the rules. And now if I go and get any URL that starts with what did I do? News.
News.
Yeah, it will be redirected to blog, to the same page, but with blog. So it's really easy. It's really a bad thing to do during a demonstration, show an error, but it's working this way. Of course, you can have as many rules as you like. You can reorder them.
Those rules tell the search engine, does it give it a 301 to change the...
that's an option.
Okay.
When you do the redirect here, I said blog redirect anything that starts with news to the same thing, but start with blog, and then you can say you want a 302 or a 303. Just use the 30. Just use the permanent redirect. There is no point in all of these. There are some details with the query string, but okay. I give you here simple examples, but these can be regular expressions. They can be as complex as you want. Joomla with something else, and so on. You can have anything you like here. It can be a regular expression, but in my opinion, I like that better because most of the time, this is the sort of redirect that you have to do, and it's so much easier than having to go to your htaccess and enter some rules. Obviously, htaccess is very performant; it's going to be very quick, but this is way easier and more flexible for me, and I believe for most people. So this is redirects. The other thing you can do here is replace content. And replace content, by name, you're probably familiar. There are already obviously some extensions doing that, but to me, it's something as an SEO you want to have in your tool belt, and I want to have everything together. So it works the same way. Give it a name, and you can tell it that on all pages, let's start with a simple example. On all pages, I want to replace the word Weeblr with Weeblr LLC, because I'm very picky on the name, and I want that to happen only in the modules, and I want it to be case insensitive and only entire world. So, and this is it. I have a rule for that. I didn't give it a name. Okay. That's it. And now everywhere the world on any page of site, if for SEO sees the word Weeblr, it will replace it with Weeblr.llc. Now that's already nice because it allows you to fix things, to change things automatically. But it's even more interesting when you can link. And on any page now, if I see the word Weeblr.llc, I'm going to replace it with a link to Weeblr.com. Just by clicking here, replacement type is going to be a link. And there are options. Do you want the link to open in a new tab, to no-follow it? Again, you don't want to do that replacement anywhere, and so on. So there are lots of features. This can be HTML markup, for instance. You can fix HTML markup. But essentially, you can replace pretty much anything anywhere. And you can play with the order of things to make it easier. That's it. So it's a fully featured content replacer. And thing is, in that case, I put these rules. I apply them to all pages, but as usual, you have selectors here. So maybe you want to link to a particular piece of content only on some pages. Another example of that would be, let me discard those changes and add a new one. And that's even more important for SEO. It's internal linking. And here, I'm going to say anywhere in the documentation on my site, sorry, on any page of the documentation, if you see the word for SEO mentioned, replace it with a link to the product page. And just like that, you can create very easily internal linking throughout your site by linking, not, you know, it should not be that rough. You don't want to create links everywhere, but by you're allowed, by the rule principle that we use, you're allowed to create links and replace text only on some very specific areas of your site. And you may have noticed that this works. Sure, you can do that by components or only for some categories, but I use very often the URL specification because it's very accurate. It's very easy to be accurate and go for specific areas of your site.
Now, with that replacement, does that make the text become a link, or does it replace the text with the URL, which is a link?
It depends on what you select here.
Oh, okay.
So, sorry, I did that the first time. So in that case, I did it wrong because it would replace the word for SEO with this other word, raw text. Okay. But if I select here, the replacement type is going to be, should be a link, then for SEO is going to be replaced with a link to this page. And that's the entire point.
Okay.
Most of the time you can use to replace just text to fix a few things, but it's most of the time it's good from an SEO standpoint. It's going to be used for linking things.
And Joomla Guru in chat asked if this replacement is in the database or on the fly, and it's on the fly.
On the fly, it's absolutely on the fly, so that you can change it, so that you can enable it or disable it at any time. Very easily. You don't touch the original content. It's all done on, on the fly. Okay. Then we have what goes, and this will be something that is going to be really expanding. But you've got what I call SEO rules, and these are rules that lets you do a few things. Add canonical, block pages, and insert raw content. I'm going to go very quickly over these. Let me see. I don't think I have. I just check. No, I actually cleared everything before the demo, so it was not very smart. So rules, they work the same way, and they're all the same. They are just less common use for rules. So you can create a rule, give it a name, select on which page or which pages or which section of the site is going to run, and then what to do. And in the what to do section, you can either insert a canonical, and you can tell it which canonical to use. So here it will insert a canonical to self, which can be interesting sometimes. You can block the access to the particular page. Let's just say we go to our blog page, and we will apply that to Park blog only. We can block the access with a page not found because we want to block this part. We can block with a 4.3, a forbidden access, or we can say site is offline. And this is really interesting because Park blog, Yeah, I'm logged in. Yeah, is it the first? Yeah, so I was logged in prior, so I could see the site. So what it means is that such a rule, park blog offline, means because you're very flexible in the way you can define where this rule apply. It means you can, for instance, say update your shop or update your forum, and while you are doing that, you can say this particular part of the site is offline. Okay, it was not obvious maybe, but the rest of the site is working normally. It's only the Park blog page
nice.
that's offline. Sorry, that wasn't clear. And the reason to do that is, okay, for a single page, even for a single page actually, if you're working on something that takes a long time, maybe half a day, you're updating, you're making a large update on a forum, you're adding a new part and section in the shop, whatever. You don't want search engines to come and visit those pages at this time. You want to tell them, okay, I'm working on this, and just come back later. And the Joomla allows you to do that, but then you need to put the entire website offline. So with this, it's really an SEO tool in the way that it allows you to put just a single page or a single section of your site, a subsection of your site, offline when you need it to. Actually, we haven't been that far down, but these rules, any rules that you've seen before, you can make them run only between a specified date and time.
So you could even do that for a component, any component.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's your choice. You can. I work more naturally with URL specifications, but you can use components. And I know most people are used to using menus, so I will add menus at some point in time. So yeah, that's the main purpose of this feature, really, put things offline. And then let's use a new rule for that. Raw content, something that you're not probably going to use every day. So again, it's a rule. You can make it run on some parts of the site or the entire site. It's inserting raw content, and that's really like a handy tool. It's something that lets you enter raw HTML or raw JavaScript or whatever you want into various locations on the site, like the head or the like the top of what I call the top of the head, or the bottom of the head section of your site, or the body tag or the /body tag. Meaning you can paste here. My friend Carlos Camara was asking me how he could insert custom structured data snippet for his podcast page. Mm-hmm. Well, you can do that here. You just paste anything. You can enter a specific I don't know, validation code from Cloudflare or from something else. Anything here that's really link src href equals whatever. That's entirely up to you. It's going to be included in the page exactly as you enter it. Could be raw. Could be raw CSS,
yeah,
whatever.
We just looked last week at how to have CSS, custom CSS based on the user group logged in, and we used re-replacer to re-replace to add CSS in the head based on the group.
Yeah, that's something. It will happen. Like one of these, and probably before menu here, you will have a selector for the user group, yeah, or probably the access level, or maybe both.
Nice.
So this will be a selector, a rule trigger, if you will. And because these rules are the same all across the software, anything you've seen me doing with rules, setting a redirect, replacing content, blocking content maybe, or inserting raw content that is like CSS, you'll be able to do it based on the user group as well, and many other things we can think of, because again it's the same code shared. Okay, that's it for rules. There's a robots.txt editor.
Okay.
With a few optimizations, because even the Joomla 4 or the latest version is not the one that comes with Joomla is not really fine. It still blocks the cache folder and the components folder and stuff like that, and the modules and the plugins. So that should not be blocked. So you click on a button here. I have these. This is the standard one that comes from with Joomla. So you click this button here, and for SEO removes some lines or comment out some lines for a better results, because none of these should be blocked or disallowed. Otherwise, it's just an editor, and you can change whatever you want and save here. Okay, the other things I wanted to show to you is the configuration. There's not much to configure, but there is analytics. So we have again the analytics, the insertion of analytics snippet works the same way based on rules. So you can add a rule that says on let's say we're going to use the components on the this is just Joomla. Let's say on the tags. On the tags component, any page that comes from the tags component, I want to include Matomo, and my Matomo site ID is 2, and my server is the solid one with Matomo, and I have a few settings, and that's it. So this again, I didn't. It's more for com tags actually. So again, because this is based on rules, you can have different analytics setups for different parts of the site, or obviously you can have just one for the entire site, and you can have multiple suppliers. So it's very easy, and that's in that example we have one rule for Google Analytics, the very classic one, and you can have either the Universal Analytics, the traditional one, the new version 4.1, or Google Tag Manager. With your ID and a few options. That depends on what you're doing. You also have here some custom code that you can enter if you want to have some Google Analytics specific functions, like push some events, for instance, things like that. And we have another rule for clarity, for inserting clarity, and I have this is an example. I don't have a shop, but I have limited it to the checkout. And here I have selected clarity in my clarity product ID. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with clarity. It's a behavior analytics service. So what it does is, like the most famous one is Hotjar, and these services, what they do is that on a given page they are going to analyze the way the user is behaving. They are going to look at where they are moving their mouse and where they are clicking or not clicking, and looking at. So
they end up. You get a heat map showing where. Exactly. Okay, I haven't heard of that one, but.
So this one, Clarity, is fairly new. I think they started last year. It's from Microsoft, so it's pretty big, and it's entirely free.
Wow.
These tools can be fairly expensive, but this one, I guess they decided they wanted to collect some data, so they made it free. It's really efficient. It's really working well. Obviously, if you start doing something like that, to me, it makes sense to use it on a specific page or on specific pages, a few of them, because you got a lot of data and you're not going to analyze that much. But it might be really interesting. Obviously, this is heavy user tracking. So if you're subject to the GDPR in Europe, or I don't know the name of the corresponding act in California, but there's one.
Yeah.
You need to be very careful and
I
make
think
sure your
California, I
visitors
think, is
are,
COPPA.
yeah, CAFA,
COPPA or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's going to be great
Yeah.
to check that out.
Yeah. So there's these, and Matomo, Cloudflare also. Cloudflare is the opposite. They started an analytics service that does not track people, so they don't use cookies. So in that case, obviously you got less data, but you don't need any cookie notice just for analytics. So the Cloudflare one is free as well, so it's nice to have. And there's a Facebook Pixel because some people use that. So that's it. That's it for analytics. Again, those are all rules, so you can have different providers for different places. Editing, there's not many settings. You can have a default image for social networks. If there is no image on a page, you can enable everything. Editing is just whether you want to enable or disable front-end editing. And in the system place, you got the update key. You can, wash your eyes. I'm going to switch to the light theme because the default theme is white. Yeah, it's tough on the eyes when you actually switch from dark theme to the dark from dark to white.
And
from
bless you for having orange, my favorite color.
Yeah, you can. It's all live, right? So you can pick your preferred. So there are some, because it's a JavaScript based single page application. There are many things that are rather easy to do, like I didn't show, but if you're doing the analysis right now, it's going to stop right away. But yeah, so you can yeah. Okay, let me just reset the analysis. And you run it. You start running it, but then you can go elsewhere. It's still running the analysis. You can see here the spinner spinning. You can configure. You can do whatever you want, and you can back here and stare, and you can update the data while it's still. You can search. So it's really reactive and easy to use. Obviously, it's doing a lot of work, so it's not reacting as quickly as it was doing before. But so this is what I think large extensions should look like or behave like. There are a few like this already, but this is in 2021. This is what we should be using, and that's why we have tried to do. I didn't mention, but I've spent a lot of time on making it accessible. So it's never perfect, but the app. Let me switch to. I just prefer the.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's accessible. It can be entirely used from the keyboard, even though it's a large app, and the color are past the I don't know how you say that, WCAG 2. So yeah, I spent a lot of time on that to make sure it's really accessible. So here it is. The other thing I wanted to mention, there's help, and the reason I wanted to show here. So you got the getting started guide here, but we've tried also to document it. So we've got extensive documentation that you can reach from the site. It has a programming API that's fully documented. So if you're like the coder kind of guy, you can find here a way to extend its features programmatically. So that's about it.
Cool. So I've got some questions here. Go ahead, turn your camera back on so we can
Sure.
see you. That is really neat. Let me go up to the questions here. All right. So Hobby Teresa asked this: does this extension make friendly URL without index.php in the URL? I know the answer to that, but you go ahead.
Okay, so this extension does not deal with URLs at all. Does not do anything with URLs. And the reason for that, for those who know what we do, is that obviously our most famous extension is sh447, which does URLs plus quite a bit of SEO work. But to work with sh447 and use its SEO features, you need it to work on you to create your URLs, and that's part of the job of what it does. It creates different URLs than the Joomla ones, and there's a good reason for that. But the other thing is you need to use the sh447 URL. So now we split that, and for SEO will work with anything. It will obviously work with sh447 managing the URLs, but it will, like we've been doing today, it will also just work with Joomla Ceph URLs or another Ceph extension if you want to. It doesn't care, and doesn't know about how Ceph URLs are created on your site.
So Hobby, I think in Joomla, if you turn on search engine friendly URLs and change htaccess.txt to .htaccess and then set for URL rewrites in your Joomla configuration, that will take out the index.php.
Okay, so there's never index. Yeah, the index.php. That's correct.
Yeah.
If what you want to get rid of is index.php, then you just need to enable URL rewriting in Joomla configuration, and for that to work, you also need to change. Usually, just do what you said and rename the htaccess.txt file to .htaccess, and usually it will work right away. And sometimes it won't work right away, but that's another story.
Yeah, I know. And then you buy sh404 SCF and it works. So
actually, sh447 won't help with that.
Oh, okay.
Because you need it's a server thing, so it's your server that needs to do that, and
okay.
Yeah.
Joomla Guru asks, can I give a custom name for the map so it is unique? I think he's referring to the sitemap.
For the what?
Sitemap.
No.
No for the map? Okay.
If we are talking about the sitemaps, no. The name is exactly what it is.
In the URL.
Yeah, okay. That's the one. Sitemap.x for SEO XML.
Okay.
And there are reasons for that. I don't want to get into, but yeah, we don't want that to be a custom one.
Okay, Joomla Guru, if I've got that, if I misunderstood your question, just ask further down and we'll just clarify. Joomla Guru also asked, social networks like Open Graph social network like Open Graph work with the core only, or K2 and other extensions? Will they not duplicate?
No, they don't. They work with everything. They don't know what's inside the page. It's again, it's a crawler, so it looks at the page content.
Okay.
So it will inject Open Graph metadata into anything, and it will detect image automatically. Except it can do that better when we know what the page is, but it will always do that. Like if you do it with Joomla content, Joomla articles, you're sure if there is an image, we're going to find it. With K2, we're going to find it too, and we'll have plugins for the main extensions coming over the next few months. We have a roadmap on the documentation page, and with various steps, and the next big version. Yeah, I want to mention that actually. The next big feature coming up is Core Web Vitals. You may have heard about that. It's something that's happening right, like Google is starting it up. They started rolling it out yesterday, and it will be rolled out supposedly, fully worldwide tomorrow. So it's happening as we speak. They are starting to use a different way of measuring your site speed and take that into consideration when ranking sites. And because of the way we work and what we have developed, for SEO is going to be able to measure these core web vitals values that Google is going to be using for each of the pages on your site, and it's going to be able to do that very accurately, because it's actually very tricky to do. It's not just you go to a site and you test it. It doesn't work like that. So obviously there'll be more on that, and I can come back anytime you want, Tim, to talk about that. But it's really specific. But I'm very happy. It's already done. We just need a UI to show the results. But it's already, the measurements are already done. So.
Well, and when you were working on things and finished them, if you think, oh, I would like to show this on Tim's channel, all you have to do is contact me. Don't wait for me.
Sure.
Just send me an email and say, hey, I've got this working. This is a new thing in SEO I think everyone should know about. Then that would be great.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that everyone today should know about the core web vitals, and it's called the Page Experience Update by Google. And everyone involved with SEO at this moment is talking about that. Maybe too much, probably way too much, but it's still something you want to be aware of. And if there are some French-speaking people, on Friday I'll be talking about just that at the Joomla Day France virtual or online virtual Joomla Day France that's happening on Friday.
Okay. Now, interestingly, earlier you said you were from France, and now you just said France. So
no, I'm not. Yeah, France is the way I would say it in France.
Oh, okay, all right.
French. Yeah, but yeah, I'm from there. I'm speaking on Friday. You've got Joomla Day France, whatever. So if you want to brush up your French, now is the time, or Friday is the time. Yeah. Actually,
they tried to do that to me in high school. So. Let's see. Okay, going down the list here. Bjorn says this is one of the best SEO plugins for Joomla. He has about 200 articles on his blog. Can he use the batch option in for SEO to make it automatic?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Oh, sorry, that was Hobby Teresa. Because it... Hobby, if you want to just clarify that further down, that will help, and I'll get to it because I'm working my way down here. Hobby asks, do you plan to extend integration with search engine to Yandex, Baidu, DuckDuckGo? That's for submitting the sitemap.
Okay, these guys do not have a way to submit sitemaps. Okay. So the one I used are the ones who have a public address, if you will, where you can just say, hey, we have a new sitemap at this address. The other ones, it's not impossible to do, but you, the user, will have to do a lot of things before I am able to talk to them. You need to create an account, create an application, get a specific key, and then you might be able to talk to these guys.
Okay. So
that's why I limited support to these. The other thing is that pinging Google and Bing with the sitemap is not the only way the sitemap is published. The sitemap is made public in the standard way by being included in the robots.txt file. That's how it's supposed to be. You create a sitemap and you put a line in your robots.txt that says, let me see. Have it here somewhere, robots.txt. Yeah. So here you can see this is the robots.txt file on my Joomla test site, and here there is a line. It's a standard. That's how it's supposed to be, and that's how you're supposed to tell search engines that you have a sitemap. submitted the sitemap directly is just a shortcut. For Yandex and all the other that do not have a public endpoint where I can submit or ping them with a new sitemap, what you want to do is just maybe go to their search console or the equivalent of the search console and tell them, I have my new website and this is my address. And the first thing they're going to do is try to load the robots.txt file, and there they'll see this line and they'll know there's a sitemap there. The only thing, obviously, it requires that you do that and that you log into their search console, maybe create an account, and you need to go there and tell them that.
Okay.
Anyway, that's probably a good thing to do anyway if you are interested or working in areas where Yandex and Baidu are popular, then you need to do that anyway.
And you have that URL there, so you can just add
and it's always the same thing. You just cut and paste that. But the thing is, you don't even need the URL. They'll find it out by just loading the robots.txt file. This is all search engines will do that.
Okay.
That's the standard.
Ivor asks, will it also work with page builders?
Yes. Again, it's a crawler, so it doesn't care. It doesn't really care how the page was built. That is an oversimplification, because it will work much better if it knows how the page is built. Like for com content or com K2 or whatever, we can do things much better and much faster and more efficiently. But it will work in all cases. Like if you take a page builder and Open Graph, the simple example, Open Graph, we want to detect the image inside that to insert them in the Open Graph tags. We're going to do that. We just look at the page, at the content, at the final content of the page, and we are going to search for images. And we have algorithms, but basically we're going to use the largest image that we find in the page and use that for this page builder. Of course, if it is com K2 or if it is a regular Joomla article or a Virtual product or anything, we have shortcuts. We know that if this is a Joomla article, we know where to look. We are going to look first for the intro page or the full text, for the intro image or the full text image and other places like that. So it's more optimized. We have a better chance of finding the right page. But with a page builder, if there's an image in the page, we're going to find it.
And when someone changes the title for SEO, it's not changing the title in the Joomla article, for instance. It's actually associating it with the URL and serving that up on the page load, correct?
I'm not entirely sure what I'm
if I create a new article and call it Tim's article, and then publish it, and then for SEO sees the title is Tim's article, and then in for SEO I type Tim's really great article, does the title get changed in the Joomla where I entered the Joomla article, or is for SEO keeping it? For SEO has a database. Okay.
Yeah, it's kept separate for a lot of reasons, but it's kept separate. Most of these reasons have to do with Joomla, because the system, the menu-based URLs make it very difficult to know where we are supposed to write back the custom text. So we just keep it separate. Obviously, I was confused a little bit at the start by your question. Just to clarify, we don't change the visible content. We never do that. We are talking about tags inside the content, inside the page.
Now, you could always use for SEO and see, oh, I don't like that title, and then go to the article manually and change it as something permanent. But
sure.
And so with a page builder, once the page is drawn and for SEO looks at it, you would just go back to whatever you made that page with, if there's something, or else let for SEO do it. All right. Okay, Hobby Teresa retyped this question here. Can you make batch for all articles? Can you add schema, for example, to all articles by a few clicks?
Yeah, it's a rule. So the first thing is
And he may have asked that question before you showed that, but
okay. So first, if it's really a regular article, you don't have anything to do because the built-in rules are going to generate structured data. But if you, I think, I'm not sure what I did here. Yeah. So what you're creating here is a rule, and the rule where you say I want to use article, let's say something different, a course or whatever. You have 200 events. You're going to apply that rule to a URL specification, or to a component, or to some categories. So I can create a I have a content category which is the help category, and I can create maybe event is not so good, but I can say course, and I can create a structured data type rule that will only apply to the help content category, and I can have a totally different one on the Joomla content or typography content or whatever you want to have. So because everything is rules based, yeah, you can have something running for your, or you can define something for your 200 articles. Obviously, you'll need these articles to be currently at least in the same category or coming from the same component, or they have to have something in common, or you need to be able to specify to describe them by a URL. Mm-hmm. So there needs to be something that say I want this to apply to these 200 articles, but other than that, yeah, you have a rule and you apply it to a group of things.
Okay, and it could be you don't have tags on there right now, but are you going to add tags or?
If depends, popular demand, I guess, but it's not on my priority list. Not near the top. The other thing is you don't want to have everything under the sun there because it becomes complex. Yeah. So. Okay.
If Hobby asks, if I use some other component for sitemap, schema, and open graph, does it make a conflict for SEO?
You will have to disable things. Obviously, okay, I didn't mention that, but so everything is you can disable everything. You don't want the site. No, you don't want the sitemaps. You go to the sitemaps settings and you say I don't want any sitemaps, and it's over. It means everything like the line in the robots.txt has been removed, and we won't build the sitemap, and it's like we don't do anything. Okay. And you got the same kind of global on-off things, generally speaking. But there's something I wanted to mention actually about that, and many people are used to using several extensions. One for sitemap. I don't want, I'm not going to give names, but we all know them. Sitemaps, structured data, and other things. But there is a good point in using a single extension for all of that. The thing is, all of these extensions, like managing metadata and creating structured data and building a sitemap, they work off the same information. If you have 3 extensions that needs to know whether a page is canonical or whether a page is blocked by robots.txt, or extract metadata, or extract or create open graph metadata, you're going to have 3 extensions reading the database for each piece of content 3 times. I mean, one of the main reasons to wanting to have an all-in-one SEO extension is that in my case, this information is read only once and used 3 times wherever it needs to be read, and that's major because I mentioned page experience update and the core web vitals. But just for your users, you obviously want to have a fast site, so you can always get a faster server. but if you can avoid, yeah, you want to avoid that. So that was also one of the things I wanted to do here, having just one extension that handles everything together. Obviously, you need to be very performant in each of these tools, but having just an all-in-one extension is already a matter of importance in itself, I think.
Great. Joomla Guru asks, if I know the sitemap address, I can easily check what you have on the website and analyze your website and check what you publish and how often. So that's a statement, not a question. So
that's true, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you have a sitemap, it has to be public. So anyone on any site, if you have a sitemap, the only purpose of a sitemap is for it to be public.
Okay.
So there's no point. It's not a sitemap if it's not public. And needless to say, I just need to get Screamfrog or any other tool, and I can get all the URLs on your site. So
yeah, and spider them in that. Yeah.
It's not really private information.
All right, so that's the questions in chat. I wrote down a couple that I had. Should have. One is so for people that have a lot of SEO stuff in SH404 SEF, because right now in SH404 SEF you can put meta description and titles and stuff like that. Do you have a way so that if someone's has done a lot of work putting them in SH404 SEF, that it will migrate to 4 SEO and they don't have to do that all over?
Yes and no. What's going to happen is as follow, because let me show you actually. In the meantime, Google decided that they wanted to come and check our sitemap, because you remember I restarted the crawl, and so the sitemap was submitted some times ago. I'm lost with the time zones here. And then they came back, so Google came and visited the site about 3 minutes after it was submitted. And Bing, they don't come often, really. Okay, sorry about that.
No, Bing is like, let's put it in Bing just in case something comes from that.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly. So, SH404 Ceph, basically, it's about keeping the URLs and keeping the metadata. Actually, the Ceph URLs are way more important than the metadata. The meta description and page title, that's not that important, but the Ceph URLs, that's really important. So on Joomla 3, that is for now, the plan is that if you have SH404 Ceph, you just keep using it. And if you like the things that there is with for SEO on top, sitemap, structured data, errors management, then you can get both and they will work together. Now with Joomla 4, things will change a little bit, and what we are doing is I told you that I wanted to split the Ceph URLs management from the rest. So what we will have is a much smaller extension called 4Ceph that will run both on Joomla 3 and Joomla 4, and that will take over whatever SH404 Ceph data has in terms of Ceph URLs, and it will also extract the metadata. That's not entirely decided where they will go, but most likely they will go to 4SEO. So we will have that small 4Ceph extension that will only do Ceph URLs, and that one will take over whatever URLs were created by SH404 Ceph, so that you have like a transparent migration path. And at some point you can even get rid of SH404 Ceph and replace it with the combination 4Ceph and 4SEO, either on Joomla 3 or Joomla 4. So 4Ceph is not there yet because, well, Joomla 4 is not stable, and development will start because it's really system software. It goes deep down inside of Joomla, so we need to have really a stable Joomla 4 before we start getting into that. But that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, because I've never really used the meta descriptions or the SEO part of SH4 SEF. But I certainly do use the URLs, and but I know that some people have. I have clients that have done some SEO stuff in
Yeah.
there, and I mean that's the danger of the SEO that's not written right in the core of the article, because if the product it goes away, then a lot of your work is gone. But
you might say that. I could argue two things. Well, not against really, but I could say first you can talk to people like us who's been around for 15 years. I mean, I'm not saying that we'll be around 15 years from now, but yeah, we have a kind of a record. And the other thing is we keep talking about SEO in the core, but basically there's nothing SEO in the core. There's just maybe sometimes the ability to enter the title in the description, but that's not SEO. That's really basic thing that you have to do. And in my opinion, if you have time to spend, don't do that. Spend time on adding structured data. Spend time on putting canonical where they belong. Spend time on speed. Spend time on making sure your open graph data are correct, because you want to have backlinks. We are too focused in terms of SEO. We're too focused on the simple work, like drafting a meta description. That's hard actually, but it's something you can do. It's under your control, but it doesn't matter really. It's not going to help. Meta description, for instance, are not used for ranking content. It's not used at all, so it won't help your site being in a higher position in results. It may help more people click on your site if Google decides to use your description, which it won't do very often. So usually they'll use their own description anyway. So there's the thing is, the point I was making was that inside of Joomla there's not much in terms of SEO useful in 2021. There is no structured data. There's some micro data, but it's unfortunately invalid most of the time, because it doesn't detect images automatically. So there's no image, and therefore the structured data, the micro data for most sites is invalid. For most Joomla site is invalid, and it takes a lot of work to fix that. Okay, meta description, page title, okay, yeah, but it doesn't. There's not much more to do inside of Joomla, unfortunately, and I understand, because it's really a complicated matter. I spent the last year and the last 15 years basically trying to do that, and it's not easy at all.
No, and one of the things I appreciate about this and hearing all this from you too is that you've got it figured out, been looking in this, and I mean, you haven't just gone and willy-nilly programmed something that will do some things. You've looked at what's required and come up with a system, which I don't necessarily have to understand things if someone else has. I just want to buy their extension, put it on my site, and have it work, and get on with my life and what I'm doing.
I tend to aim to that, but you have to understand at some point that you have to understand SEO a little bit. You have to know where you're going to spend your time, and sometimes you don't want to spend your time on your site. Your time is best spent elsewhere, sharing, doing videos, doing tutorials, doing other things. You need to have the technical SEO down, but sorry, I might appear to be rambling a bit, but spending time on writing description in Joomla is close to wasting your time. It's not entirely wasted, but it's close to being wasted, because there are probably much better things you can do to help you.
I have someone who back in December starting up a business and said that they anyway, so I did a proposal for them to have a site. Then they got a sort of a mentor business coach who said to them, oh, you already have a lot of word of mouth. You don't need a site. You're on LinkedIn. Lots of people are talking to you. So I thought, okay, well, that's an interesting advice, but that's okay. So now recently they just asked for, they said, oh, they do want a site. And I just finished the proposal a couple of days ago. And the key time period when people are going to search for their service for the fall is July. So they said, would you do the SEO? Because people are going to be searching in July. And I said, there's some stuff that we can do. I said, but it's going to take months it's going to take months to get things set up properly, and all the like you said, it's not just meta descriptions or a title, it's like backlinks and getting this, and also
structural data.
Yeah,
structural data is important. It depends on the site, obviously. You have another question?
Hobby Teresa says, do you provide documentation for schema type like product review, movie review? He means how to write it in a proper way. I know that if you use schema in a not correct way, you can be penalized. So I guess he's looking for what resources you might recommend for how to write it properly, schema or...
Okay. So first, you usually don't... the plan here is that usually you don't write or you don't create the structural data. You fill in... most of the time, you leave it at automatic. And sometimes you override and you enter some custom data. So that's one thing. The content is extracted from the data we have from the site. And then the second thing is, in terms of documentation, there's the only reference really is the Google documentation.
Okay.
There's a structured data. If you Google for Google structured data documentation, Google structured data. Yeah, I'm not sure I can. Yeah, I can share that, I guess. You see, I just sorry. This is going to be it. Okay, let me go back to it. I search for Google structured data, and the first result is their testing tool.
Okay.
Where you submit a page of your site and then tell you this is right or this is wrong. You've got errors here or there, and then you've got the corresponding documentation.
Okay. All right.
And my advice is you run automatically with an extension that provides that. If you need to go further, you read the Google documentation, and then in any case, you go here and you test your pages. You need to test your pages.
Okay.
That's the only, that's the truth. At the end, that's the, I don't remember the English expression for that, but that's where the truth lies. You have to go to this testing tool and make sure it's actually valid.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
Okay, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, that's okay.
Is that a Canadian version or what?
Well, I don't know. There's also a church one, that's where the bum hits the pew. But all right. Okay, a couple more questions because I know it's getting late there. Alan Seward. Hello, Alan. Is 4SEO compatible with J real-time analytics?
I don't know what that is, so
that would Alan, is that another analytics source that you just put the code in? Like, is there is that sort of like Google Analytics where you get a code and you put it on your page? In which case, Yannick, if someone has tracking code, you showed that it can be put in the head of every page.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It is an extension actually. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's an extension from J extension stores. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, there's no problem. If you need to add a code inside your pages, you can use 4SEO to do that instead of your template or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then what this extension does is 4SEO is not concerned by that.
Okay. He says it's a component that reports analytics without using Google. Okay, so
yeah. I don't need to know what they are doing. If it's a code that you need to include into several of your pages, then you can use custom content or raw content in 4SEO to do that.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be any.
Or if the component itself is putting something in, it's just going to continue. Yeah. They'll work side by side.
They'll just work together. They'll just work fine.
Okay. Okay, let's go. Two more. Bjorn asks, is it a one-time buy? it says no recurring payment. Is there lifetime updates?
Okay, so the way we've always worked, and most extensions work in the Joomla world, is that we sell a subscription for downloads and support that's valid for 1 year.
Okay.
We don't have lifetime subscriptions or whatever. I haven't heard in people doing that for a long time in the Joomla world or WordPress world. It's not a recurring payment in that your extension will keep working like any Joomla extension would do that. They are GPL licensed, so, and open source, so you get the extension, it will work forever. But you do need to get a subscription to get new versions with us. And
when the year is up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You whenever like all Joomla open source extensions, you don't pay for the software. You pay for accessing our download area and support. The documentation is always available, so you can just read the documentation. So yeah, that's what you get.
Okay, I'm going to skip Hobby Teresa's question because I want it to be the last question. So we'll ask one more. William Reed asks, can this pull Google Analytics into the dashboard?
No.
I think, no, it doesn't. Like SH404 SCF did that.
Yeah, we did that, and then we realized we have that. So we have the code, we have that, and maybe it will get back into it at some point. But I didn't put it at the top of the list in terms of priority because there are not that many people using it within SH404 so I figured it's not that important. We know how to do it. It's in SH404
Yeah.
We have to extract it and put it in there, but there are already many things. It will probably get back into for SEO at some point.
Okay, so here's the easiest question left to the last. Hobby asks, Yannick, you have many years of experience of technical SEO. Can you predict the future of SEO in a few sentences?
Oh, it will keep being a a chase between many people trying to guess what Google is doing and what Google is actually doing. So we'll just like today, we'll never know, and we can only do our best. I've done a couple of talks recently, and my best advice, or well, what I think is the best advice and the best slide in all of these were the last one where I put, or the two last ones where I put a list of resources, and these are people you can follow on Twitter. Mostly Google people, actually. They have a team that's there to kind of spread the news and spread information or reply to myth and set records straight, and they'll do a pretty good job at that. So, and plus a few websites that are really reliable. So the thing with SEO is it will be there. There's always going to be something that there are always going to be things that you can do badly wrong and that will break your site SEO. So you need to keep being educated, and it will as long as we'll have websites, it will be that way. I don't believe that, for instance, voice search is going to be something real big. It was really big 2 or 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, and was everywhere. But actually, it sort of panned out, but it's not such a big thing today. And more traditional SEO is still the way to go, and where things are happening to get traffic to your websites.
Okay. Jim Goose says, data structure is the key, content is always the king, external linking, things like that. All right, well, thank you very much. That was great.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for a great extension. I was excited about it before I saw some of the cool things that got me extra excited about it. So yeah,
that's nice. Thank you very much. Yeah. I just want to say, it's a 1.0 version stable. It's only 2 weeks old as a stable. It was a beta version. So, and there's a roadmap. We don't have everything in just yet. It will work better with simpler sites, and there might be a few bumps down the road again. We're working daily on that, so it's going to happen. And last thing, maybe there's a 20% discount until the end of the month if you care to get a subscription for it. So
yeah, cool.
There's that.
All right, and all right. So you're saying it's version 1, so don't judge it too harshly. It's
yeah. Be prepared to have a. I mean, if you have a fairly regular site with Joomla content or common extensions, then it's going to be okay. If you want to get deep down into with weird extensions and page builders and all that, for instance, I'm going to be frank. I haven't tested with. I've tested with SP Page Builder, and that's about it. And my testing was fairly simple.
yeah.
So yeah, we are at the start, but it's already. What I wanted really to have in front of everybody is an all-in-one SEO extension that's focused on automating and working like a search engine, crawling pages.
Good.
And we have that.
So Bjorn says, thanks for this session. Mary says, excellent presentation. Thank you. Alan says, great product and presentation. Joomla Guru, thanks for the sessions. Great work, Yannick.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
that is great. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. Don't you go anywhere.
Okay.
But I will make myself, I'll just move you off of here. So everybody, thanks for tuning in today. Man, and thanks again, Yannick, for coming on. This is great. Aren't my live streams better when I have someone smart on them instead of me? I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So.
I do think though that we were way past the reasonable time for a session.
Oh no, well that's fine. Well, you did the presentation and then we talked, and that's doesn't bother me. So, and it's a video, so people can always stop it and watch another part or something like that. So I just got to find the right buttons here. Yeah, so everybody, thanks for your support of this channel. Please give video a like. That will help other people to find it. And if you've watched to this end point, I'm guessing you're already subscribed. But if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. Everyone, so until the next time, I hope wherever you are, be it morning, afternoon, evening, or tomorrow, that things are well with you. Until the next time, enjoy your Joomla sites, and God bless.